And a good Sunday morning to you. I'm Andrea Oliver. Welcome to this edition of Polk County Today. Whether we do it out of habit, pressure, or personal conviction, the new year for most is always a time for some change and restructuring, whether we call it resolution or intention. Roughly half of us find ourselves woefully not keeping those ideas as early as this time in the first month of the year. Today, we hope to give some valuable insights and hopefully rescue those failing plans with a topic we have carefully called intelligent change. Yeah. How do you make it stick? How do you succeed? That's the focus of our program today. And of course, none other than our resident guru. I don't know if she wants me to call her that, but I like it. But our coach and mindfulness leader, Emily Rogers, is back in studio. She's a successful retreat teacher and consultant. And just like one of my favorite guests ever, Emily, welcome again to Polk County Today.
Thank you, Andrea. It's wonderful to be with you, and always brings me great joy to be in your studio.
Listen, you have rescued us on so many occasions and just always share some valuable insights that just keep us just plowing along. We appreciate all that you do. You've stayed busy. I know you've done a number of things and a number of training. How has that gone?
It's gone so well. And this month I'm celebrating my 5-year business anniversary.
Wow.
I founded my business in 2013, so it's been 5 years now, and it's become more than I ever imagined it would be in so many wonderful ways.
Obviously, you made an intelligent change.
I did. Yes, I've lived it.
Well, listen, I think experience is the best teacher. And so we hope today to, for want of a better word, pick your brain and see how we can, because yes, most of us at the beginning of a new year, we have some ideals that we've set on, some resolutions maybe. And we generally by about now, we're beginning to get on that slippery slope of failure.
Yeah.
So tell me what you mean by intelligent change.
Yeah, sure. So I believe that the more intentional we are about the change that we want to create, and the more connected we are to the why behind the change,
I like that.
the more likely it is that it will stick and that we will be able to sustain it. And change is difficult and scary. And it's normal to have setbacks, and it's normal to get to a place where we're kind of stalled for a while. But I think going back to the why and the intention behind the change gives us the kind of fresh momentum and fresh energy to continue to progress.
It's a little bit different from the thought that says, whatever the reason behind the change, the fact that I just know that I need to change is enough. Obviously not as sustainable as the thought pattern here that says we have to have a why, and I think the why has to be meaningful, yes?
It really does. And when my clients come to me, they're coming to me because they want to create change.
Yes.
Whether it's in their personal life, they want to have a healthier lifestyle, or if it's in their professional life, they want to change careers or get a new job. Or in their businesses, they want to make their businesses more profitable, more sustainable. And so it's really important for us early on in the process to understand why and what the impact of the change will mean to the person or the organization. So we're really clear on that, and we're really connected to that throughout the entire change process.
How important is it, Emily, as we go about figuring that change, is to have proper tools so that the change is sustainable?
Yeah, proper tools are very important. I like to talk about the conditions that are necessary for change. And one of those is, once we're really attached to the why behind the change, we need a roadmap.
Yes.
And we need support in that roadmap. So we need a plan, and we need allies, as we've talked about before.
Is that what you're calling like an accountability?
It could be. It could be a friend that just sends an encouraging word, a spouse that reminds you why, a coach that helps hold you accountable. So one, having that roadmap here's where I am today, here's where I want to be, and here are the steps that are necessary to get there. And then having a team of people to cheerlead for you and nudge you when needed is really important. And so that's a condition that's necessary.
Emily Rogers is back in studio with us on the last week of the month of January, and or the last Sunday in January, and we're talking about intelligent change. And Emily's idea here is if the change is intelligent or there's a why behind it, we're more than likely to see success. Are there other reasons why we fail?
Change is hard.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable. It means we need to give up old habits and create new habits. And sometimes we get to what I like to call an edge, and we look out over that edge and we're like, wow, do I really want to go there? Am I ready to cross this edge? Am I ready to take the leap? Am I really going to do this? And all sorts of questions begin to swirl, and self-doubt creeps in, and we begin to justify all the reasons why, well, maybe we don't need to make this change anyway. And so it's at the edge where the difference takes place.
We go into most of these concepts of change very gung-ho, very focused, or so we think. But there are obviously pitfalls along the way. You just mentioned one, discomfort. What about the pitfall of obstacles or things unforeseen along the way that might render us right again on that brink of failure?
Great point. Knowing that's part of the process and acknowledging that and being ready for that is critically important. And knowing that change doesn't happen in a straight line from point A to point B, right?
Yes.
We take a few detours. We have a few roadblocks. We have some unexpected road conditions, if you want to call it that. And that's all part of the process. And so it's a matter of, well, how are we going to be with that roadblock? How are we going to be with that unexpected thing that happened that caused a setback? And it's a matter of how you're with it and how you utilize it.
We wanted to focus today on the broad aspect of change, and which is why we're not honing in on anything in particular, because we are giving and hopefully giving some invaluable insight and tips that will be able to translate to any area of change, whether you're hoping to change on a personal level, whether you're wanting to amp up your fitness goals, whether you're wanting to have some change in your career goals, whether you want to change some things going on in your family. We're hoping this information will be able to translate. We've talked about the whole reality of obstacles, the whole reality of discouragement because something didn't quite go as planned. What is the very first thing you ought to do when you come up on those areas, probably an unforeseen obstacle? What is it that you must do to get you to the next level?
Yeah, pause and check in.
Oh my.
What's going on? Why? How might this impact the change I'm trying to create in my life or my work or in my family? And how do I overcome this obstacle?
I love that word.
Break through this obstacle as quickly as possible so I can continue to move on. Because otherwise the obstacle could consume us and become a really good excuse for not moving forward in the direction we're trying to go.
We talk about intelligent change, and certainly someone might say to you, and I'm picking your brain here, I want to lose 50 pounds because I have a high school reunion event to go to in several months. And it sounds to that individual intelligent. It sounds to that, but I already see some challenges there. How we determine when something is intelligent or not, or the why will sustain us or not, because that sounds to me like that is you're on a slippery slope right there.
Yeah, setting a goal to lose weight for an upcoming class reunion in 6 months is kind of a short-term outlook, right? And so while you might make it there, it might not stick because it was for a short-term reason. So I often ask my clients, well, what is this change going to mean for you long term? What will it mean for your family? What will it mean for your career? How will this change impact your life potentially 10 years from now?
That is amazing.
So we're looking out, further out. And yeah, the short-term goal of I want to look great at my class reunion is a good reason to get started, but it's probably not a reason to stick to the plan.
We're talking about sticking to the plan. And so we have to set some things in place that this plan is one that does not fizz out come March,
Yeah.
which is generally what we see.
Right.
I mean, I teach fitness classes, and it's really interesting to see what happens every year this month.
Yeah.
Every year this month, there is no room in my class.
That's right. But in March, come
Correct.
March 15th,
Somewhere
you're gonna
around
have
there.
a lot of room.
And so certainly I'm talking about a specific area, but I think again it translates to every area. You start with a bang
Yeah.
and end with a whimper.
Yeah, yes.
Because we haven't thought about those long-term
Right.
goals.
So that's another condition that's necessary for keeping the momentum. And that condition is monitoring progress, having honest check-ins with yourself. How's it going? How am I doing? Right?
I know. Honest check-ins.
Yes.
Oops.
Yes. And acknowledging the small wins.
Yes.
Celebrating the small wins. So if you're monitoring, you're honestly assessing, you're making small progress, even if it's just, baby steps. Pausing to acknowledge and celebrate that is important because it gives us the fuel and the energy to keep going.
I'm sure that along the way, and let me just remind our listeners, Emily Rogers is in studio with us this Sunday. She is I call her our resident guru. She is a life coach, a leadership trainer, a consultant, and of course, invaluable when it comes to getting intelligent change realized. We all have gone and made suggestions to ourselves, even to others, about things we'd like to do in any given year. But the truth and reality is by generally middle of the year, sometimes even earlier, we are so missing the mark. And we want to tell you today that even if you're missing the mark or on that you can pick up from. So talk to us about the pick up and the move on.
Yeah. So if you're missing the mark and you're finding yourself off track or distracted for whatever reason, give yourself a little grace and go back to the why. Why you wanted to make this change in the first place. What it's going to mean for you several years down the road.
We are right at that pivotal point, as I mentioned, because by about the third week or so of January, we are beginning to lose a little steam. It's not as pressing as the first or second day of January, and we might be tempted to just, we'll start over next year. Mm-hmm. When you get to that place, what are some of the first things you really need to do? You say revisit the why.
Yeah.
Anything else you might need to do?
Check in with your allies, your team. Tell them you need some support. Tell them you need some
honest.
encouragement. Tell them you're not moving forward as you would have hoped at this point, and that you need some encouragement, you need some accountability, and you need some nudges. Some
materials, Emily, that you might suggest that might be a little bit helpful in this area. If it's even say, come to my website.
Yeah. Well, and there are some great resources on my website. You and I have talked in the past about the importance of setting intentions.
Yes.
And that's a key element of creating change, as we've talked about in the past. And so one of those interviews is on my website. So that would be a great place to start.
Absolutely. And if I might say so, it was a great interview. Emily Rogers, thank you so very much for being here again. A quick number and, of course, that website.
Yes, website, EmilyRogers.com. Thanks, Andrea.
Yes. And we do have that information here at the station. We'd be happy to share with you. Emily's available to talk with your group. She works with individuals. She works with groups. She works with offices. She'll be happy to help you to set those creative and also changes that are going to last throughout the year and beyond. Thank you, Emily. Love to have you come again, of course, and you will. And thank you for joining us. We'll talk again next week.